Welcome, everyone. I am Tamara Blake Wallace, Planning Commission Administrator. This meeting will be conducted as a hybrid meeting, allowing for both virtual and in-person participation. Serving as moderator tonight is Chris Goldsmith, Development Review Coordinator, who will now go over the rules and etiquette for this meeting. Chris?
Good evening. My name is Chris Goldsmith, and I'll be your moderator. This meeting is being recorded on both video and audio for record-keeping purposes. For those attending virtually or on your phone, please keep yourself muted to ensure no interruptions to the evening. If asked to speak, and if you are attending on your phone, you can mute and unmute yourself by using the phone's designated mute button or by pressing *6. If you're on a computer, you can mute and unmute by clicking on the microphone/mute button or on the toolbar in the bottom left of your screen. You can also mute and unmute by using keyboard shortcuts. If you're on a Windows computer, you can press Alt-A. On a Macintosh, press Command-Shift-A. When questions or comments are requested of the public, those attending in person will be asked to speak first, and those attending virtually will speak after. If you're attending via phone and would like to ask a question or make comment when asked, please use the raise hand function, *9, and you'll be called upon in turn to identify yourself for the record and speak. If you're attending virtually and would like to ask a question or make comment, please go to the chat icon on your Zoom page and type your comments into that section. Finally, please say your name every time you speak for the benefit of those calling in who cannot see you.
Thank you, Chris. I'll now turn the floor over to the Planning Commission Chair to call the meeting to order.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Calvert County Planning Commission's September 21st, 2022 regular meeting. My name is Maria Bueller, and as chair of this board, I will call this meeting to order and take roll call. Vice Chair Kernan?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Freeland?
Here.
Commissioner Toohey?
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Holler?
Here.
And Commissioner Williams is unable to be here with us this evening. If you could all please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda, item number 3, is action on the proposed agenda.
Motion to approve this night's agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kernan, seconded by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is action of proposed summary of actions. Item 4A, August 23rd, 2022, joint public hearing.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kernan, a second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 4B, August 24th, 2022, the Planning Commission regular meeting.
Motion to approve.
Madam Chair, oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
I do have an issue.
Okay, yes, sir.
On item number 6, all the way down at the bottom of it where it goes to dark print, motion carries 5-0-2, Dr. Holler opposed. I recall that Dr. Holler was opposed, but that would make the motion 5-1-1.
Noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that being said, I would second the Vice Chair's
Thank you, sir.
Does your motion
Yes,
still stand?
motion.
Stands with the correction, yes.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Kernan, a second by Commissioner Toohey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on the agenda, we have recognition of persons attending the meeting. Tonight with us from the Department of Planning and Zoning, we have in attendance Mary Beth Cook, our director, Carolyn Sunderland, Deputy Director of Planning, Rachel O'Shea, Zoning Planner, Jessica Gattano, Planner 2, Kathleen Lockwood, Planner 1, and attending virtually, we have Judy Makel, Deputy Director of Zoning, and Jenny Plummer-Walker, Long Range Planner. Also in attendance tonight, we have John Mattingly, our county attorney. He's from the county attorney's office providing legal counsel, and Becky Parkinson, our recording clerk. The next item on the agenda would be a major subdivisions for final review and action. The first, we have one item. It's SDFP-142848, Oakland Hall, Plat 32, Phase 5B, and Raindrop Lane. Background and discussion. I, Tamara Blake Wallace, Secretary to the Planning Commission, certify that all of the conditions of the revised preliminary approval granted on May 15, 2013 for SD 0016A, Oakland Hall, Phase 5B, Plat 32, lots 253 to 259, and Raindrop Lane, which is a private lane, have been met. The 7-year APF hold date was met on October 15, 2010, based on the original preliminary approval date of October 15, 2003. With state and county tolling / extensions, along with extensions granted by the Planning Commission, the preliminary approval is valid until May 4, 2023. Recommendations and next steps. The Planning Commission's options for course of action are approve as certified, recommend changes and approve accordingly, request additional information from staff and defer to a future Planning Commission meeting, or disapprove.
Thank you, Tamara. Commissioners, questions, comments? Hearing none, is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this item or on Zoom?
None on Zoom.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, in the matter of SDFP 142848, I move that we approve as certified.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Tui, seconded by Commissioner Kernan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on the agenda, item 7, long-range planning, Calvert County Comprehensive Plan amendments and town center expansions.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Gattano, Planner 2 with the Calvert County Department of Planning and Zoning. Joining me this evening is Kat Lockwood, Planner 1, and joining me virtually is Jenny Plummer-Welker, Long Range Planner. The purpose of tonight's agenda item is to give a brief update on the proposed amendments to the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan. Last month, the Planning Commission held a work session to review the draft proposed amendments, and during their work session, the Planning Commission voted to direct staff to send the amendments to agencies for review, schedule a public hearing, and to notify the agencies and adjoining jurisdictions at least 60 days in advance of the public hearing. And just to review, those proposed amendments, if approved, will remove or reduce expansion areas in 4 of our town centers. In Huntingtown, the proposed amendment will remove the expansion area in its entirety. The Prince Frederick Town Center amendments propose to remove most of the Phase 2 expansion, except for a small corner tract of land on the east side of the Prince Frederick Boulevard. The Lusby Town Center is proposed to retain the northern expansion, but remove the potential expansion area between Lusby and the Solomons Town Center. And in the Solomons Town Center, the proposal is to remove the entire expansion, which is the portion of the Dowell Peninsula on the eastern side that is currently not in the town center. The sections of the plan that were discussed and sent out for agency comments for review were the executive summary, which includes a revised future land use map, the table of contents with a minor text amendment to change the title of a map, Chapter 3 land use, which had the most significant amendments with proposed amendments to text and 2 maps, and Chapter 7 transportation, which had the functional road classification map with the proposed changes. Staff distributed the proposed amendments for agency review as directed and has presented them to the Economic Development Advisory Commission as well as the Dunkirk Architectural Review Committee. We have a few more presentations scheduled in the upcoming weeks to have in front of other committees and groups. Staff has made arrangements for the Planning Commission to hold its public hearing, which is scheduled to be held on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022, at the Harriet E. Brown Community Center at 7 p.m. This public hearing will be heard solely by the Planning Commission. The Board of County Commissioners will hold its own public hearing after receiving a recommendation from the Planning Commission regarding the proposed amendments after that date. Written comments will be made part of the record if received by close of business the day before the public hearing, which would be Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. on November 1st. Written comments may also be submitted in person during the hearing up until the Planning Commission closes the record. Comments can be submitted via email to towncenterupdate@calvertcountymd.gov, or they can be sent by mail or hand-delivered to 205 Main Street, second floor, Prince Frederick, Maryland. So at this time, we don't need any action from the Planning Commission, but wanted to just keep you updated on the progress and answer any questions you may have.
Okay, yes, sir.
Question, and maybe this is for our attorney. On the memo, it says Prince Frederick removed Phase 2 expansion in its entirety, but that's not what we're doing, correct?
There's a small piece of land, so yes, that was an error.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
Great job, Jessica.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 8 on the agenda, items for discussion and/or action. We have 2 cases, the first being text amendment case TA number 2203, amendments to the Calvert County zoning ordinance to allow for possible cemetery accessory uses. And following that, we will have item B, text amendment case TA 2204, amendment to the Calvert County zoning ordinance to allow Cigar Lounge in the Lusby Town Center.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Rachel O'Shea, zoning planner with Department of Planning and Zoning. I'm going to take you through the presentation this evening, the first being text amendment 22-03. Next slide, please. I don't believe this is on. The purpose of this evening's work session is to review and discuss the proposed text amendment 22-03 to allow for possible cemetery accessory uses, and then to request direction if to move forward with the public adoption process by sending the text amendment out to receive agency comments. Next slide, please. Background. Planning zoning staff received a text amendment application from the Chesapeake Memorial Gardens requesting that crematoriums and funeral homes be permitted as accessory uses to existing cemeteries. The applicant reasons that the funeral homes and crematoriums are related uses to cemeteries and are businesses that are low intensity and have minimal impact to the surrounding properties. In the current zoning ordinance, cemeteries or memorial gardens are permitted within the Farm and Forest District, the Rural Community District, and the Residential and Rural Commercial Districts. It is conditionally permitted within the Agricultural Preservation Districts and Historic Districts only for the private use of property owners. Crematoriums are permitted within the I-1 District and conditionally permitted in the Rural Commercial District, accessory to a funeral home. And funeral homes are only permitted within the Rural Commercial District and various sub-areas of the town centers. Prior to the zoning ordinance in 2006, crematoriums and funeral homes were permitted by special exception approval only within what is now known as the Farm and Forest District, previously was named the Rural District. Next slide, please. This slide shows a map showing where the Chesapeake Highlands Memorial Gardens is located. It's located off of Brooms Island Road, about a half mile down from Route 4. Next slide, please. This is a slide showing the land use tables showing the existing zoning for crematoriums, funeral homes, and cemeteries or memorial gardens. Next slide, please. Staff put together 2 options for consideration. The first being the applicant's requested proposal, which is to allow crematoriums and funeral homes be conditionally permitted within the Farm and Forest District. Conditions for the crematorium would be that the crematorium shall be accessory to a funeral home, and the crematorium should also be accessory to a cemetery. For funeral homes, the condition would just be, the funeral home shall be accessory to a cemetery. And then next slide, please. This is staff's recommendation, which is a little different, but we think it should probably go back to what was previously approved prior to 2006, which is being permitted through special exception for crematoriums that it be accessory to a funeral home, and for funeral home be accessory to a public cemetery that was in existence at the time of the adoption of the ordinance. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission discuss the proposed text amendment options and direct staff if to send out the proposed text amendment for a request to receive agency comment. And if the Planning Commission does vote to move it forward, if you could clarify which option to send out for agency comment.
Thank you. Commissioners?
So special exception would mean on a case-by-case basis?
Yes, it would have to go, be sent to Board of Appeals for them to hear the case.
So we're not changing the rules, but what we're doing is saying, look, maybe this is good for the community, maybe this is a good thing. They can explain that to them and make it happen, right?
So yes, it would be based on a case-by-case basis. That would go to the Board of Appeals to be heard. It would give adjacent property owners the opportunity to give public comment if they wish, or, you know, have any feelings one way or the other.
Okay.
Rachel, when was the applicant's cemetery installed?
It's been around quite a while. They previously had a project in the works to actually put a crematorium on that property. However, the plan expired before they could move forward, and then in 2006, the zoning changed.
They were in existence before 2006?
Yes.
And they could have put a crematorium?
Correct.
And a funeral home on the property?
Now, will this apply to all cemeteries? Or, I noticed somewhere the word public cemetery, but there's a lot of small cemeteries owned by churches all around the county.
Yes, so we classify a public cemetery as one used by the general community or neighborhood, or a church, while a private cemetery is used mainly only for a family or a small portion of the community. So we do have differing definition between a public cemetery and a private cemetery. And the way that that staff has recommended the wording for the condition is to limit it to public cemeteries.
But a public cemetery is one owned by a church.
Doesn't necessarily have to be owned by a church, but it has to be able to be used by the general public.
Okay, I think I asked my question backwards. Is a cemetery that is owned by the church, or a church, not the church, a church, a public
Considered
cemetery?
public, yes.
So they could go into the cremation business or the funeral home business?
Correct. If they were in the Farm and Forest District and this were to be approved, they'd still have to go through the Board of Appeals process, but then, yes,
Okay.
they would be eligible.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Was there anybody on Zoom that wanted to speak on this item?
No hands or comments are seen.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, and I don't exactly, John, maybe you can help me with this, is to do this with special exception, is to handle this case and any case moving forward with special exception instead of changing the rule.
So that would still be, that would be moving forward with the staff recommended second option. So it would still require a text amendment to be adopted. But we are recommending the special exception for the FFD, Farm and Forest District.
So where it's use number 13, is that what that would fall under? Or would it fall under 8 and 13?
If you go back to slide 7, so it would be making a change to use number 8, crematorium, and a change to use number 13, funeral home, by adding the special exception in for the farm and forest district. Previously, it had nothing, meaning it wasn't permitted at all.
Okay.
So Steve, is your motion to send out the staff's recommendation
Option
for
2.
agency comments? Is that the motion?
That's the motion.
Option 2, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So just to clarify, the motion is to send option 2, the staff recommended proposal, out for agency comments. Is that correct? Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jones, a second by Commissioner Kernan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Rachel.
And next, we'll go on to text amendment 2204 for Cigar Lounge in the Lusby Town Center.
Just waiting for them to bring up the next presentation on the screen.
Difficulties. Their technology services computer is rebooting currently so that they can do the there we go, I think.
Next slide, please. Yes, there we go. Okay, the purpose of this work session is to review and discuss the proposed text amendment 22-04 to allow for cigar lounges within the neighborhood commercial subdistrict of the Lusby Town Center, and to request direction if to send out the proposed text amendment to receive agency comment. Next slide, please. Background. Plain Zoning received a text amendment application from Mr. Lincoln Lawrence requesting that the use of a cigar lounge be added to the Lusby Town Center use chart as a separate use and be permitted within the town center. The applicant states that within the town center and within proximity to the proposed location of his cigar lounge is their liquor store as well as a restaurant/bar. The applicant stated that the current ordinance does not lend to this type of business model that is growing throughout the Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia area, and that his proposed change will allow for growth of these types of businesses within the Lusby area of Calvert County. In the current zoning ordinance, a cigar lounge would be classified under section 3-2.06 for the Lusby table of land uses, number 2, which includes taverns, nightclubs, lounges, and dance halls. Currently, this use is permitted within the village commercial and the village edge districts of the Lusby Town Center, but not where the applicant is proposing his cigar lounge within the neighborhood commercial district. Next slide, please. This is a map showing the proposed location of the cigar lounge. It's off of Town Square Drive, behind where the U.S. Post Office is located. Next slide, please. And this is just a reference map for everyone showing the Lusby Town Center sub-districts. You can see that the neighborhood commercial district is actually kind of split around the village commercial and the village edge, which is currently the 2 districts where the lounge is already permitted. Next slide, please. This is the existing Lusby use chart for reference. You can see all the way down at the bottom, use 22 and use 23 are the tavern, nightclub, lounge, and dance hall. Next slide, please. And so this would be the applicant's requested proposal as submitted in the application. Proposes to create a separate use for cigar lounges and have it be permitted within the neighborhood commercial, village commercial, and village edge. So it would just, the change would be creating the new use or separate use and adding a P under neighborhood commercial. Next slide, please. And so this is staff's recommendation. We don't really feel that a separate use category is necessary when lounges are already included within a use that we already have.
The original sound for the meeting is gone. I don't know whether they're still talking or not.
Dr. Holler, this is Jenny. I just went over to the website and the meeting is still going on. They're on the next text amendment. I've alerted Chris that you cannot hear the meeting and that they should hold off until you can reconnect.
Guys, we're going to take just a few minutes
And I
we
see
have a
the
few
Zoom PC
technical
starting to
difficulties.
connect.
Okay, we're okay.
Dr. Holler?
Jenny, was that a nod that you can hear?
Yes, Chris, we've got the video back and we have sound back. Thank you.
Dr. Holler, can you hear?
He's muted, but nod your head yes. Yes,
Okay.
Dr. Holler and Mrs. Holler can hear.
Okay, great. Rachel, if you can continue. Thank you.
So, for the staff recommended option, we don't feel a separate use category is necessary since lounges are already taken care of within use 22 for the covering taverns, nightclubs, lounges, and dance halls. We do feel based on the uses that are already in place within the neighborhood commercial district, that lounges fit in with that, as well as the surrounding districts where lounges are already permitted. So we are recommending that to add a P and allow the cigar lounges to be permitted within the neighborhood commercial district. Next slide, please. So move on to recommendation and next steps. Staff recommends the Planning Commission discuss the proposed text amendment options and direct staff if to move forward with the public adoption process and send out the proposed text amendment to receive agency comment. And again, if the Planning Commission in their vote could clarify if moving forward, which option to move forward with.
Commissioners?
So, real quick, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just had one quick comment. Mary Beth Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning. When this was presented to the Board of County Commissioners, they requested that staff look at all of the town centers to make sure that this use was already permitted in places where staff felt that it should be permitted, and we did that. I just want to put that on record. We did not find any other sub-areas in any other zoning, town center zoning districts where it wasn't permitted where we thought it should be. So we're keeping the text amendment as is, and it is permitted in a lot of the other town centers as appropriate.
Thank you.
Mary Beth, does it exist in the other town centers? Do we have cigar lounges in Calvert County?
We don't have any cigar lounges,
have no
but
cigar lounges.
we try really hard. I mean, there's no way we could ever, our use charts would be 100 pages long if we tried to get every single use. So
Right.
we try to fit it into a use, and we feel like there is already a use where this fits. It's just not permitted where they want to put it, but we feel it's appropriate.
Is there one associated with the Tiki Bar?
They sold cigars. I don't think they sold anything else. So they're proposing here to perhaps have a small bar, maybe serve a little bit of food. I mean, it's going to, that's why it rose to the level of needing a text amendment.
So at the cigar lounge, you would be able to smoke cigars and do food and beverage also?
Yes.
Okay.
And that kind of falls under the tavern definition. That's why we thought it would be really good to put it under here, because you've got the tavern, you've got the lounge, everything would be covered.
There are other, in this particular building, there are other food service establishments. Do we have any way to constrain the smell of cigars from getting into my wonton soup, frankly?
Who monitors that?
Yeah,
Can I-
that was
can I-
my
who-
question.
Yeah, please.
Who regulates?
Do we know? Like, it's because you're not allowed to smoke inside of a building, right?
That's correct. So there has to be some higher level,
Like a
maybe
state
the health
thing.
department, maybe some other state agency that would regulate that.
That's kind of crazy. It's a good question, though.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any history as to why this was left out of the Lusby?
It wasn't necessarily left out of Lusby. It is permitted within two of the sub-districts.
Into the subdistrict?
It just was not included for this sub-district. And we don't have the history to be able to go, of notes to go
So the
back
other
and know
town
exactly
centers
why.
have similar sub-districts that allow?
Yes, some of the other town centers have similar sub-districts where this is allowed in some fashion. Some of them have conditions associated with them, primarily for requiring a special exception if they're within so many feet of a residence. Lusby does not have that condition for anywhere where it's already permitted. Some of the other town centers do.
In the areas that it's permitted, those are primarily freestanding buildings, right? But in the areas that it's not, we have the strip center kind of things where they're gonna have neighbors. I mean, they definitely have neighbors, and those neighbors are selling food. I just can't get over that, the smell. I mean, I was in the restaurant business for a long time, and I hated cigars. They just don't go well with food.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
certainly
smell-wise.
something that we can look into and research. We can contact the health department and find out from them if they know of any other way the smell or smoking indoors would be
I think what you're
regulated.
getting to, and I'm sorry, but like, there's gotta be a ventilation system that they're forced to put in there. There has to be something to, you know, there's gotta be. I just can't imagine there isn't. But that would be regulated by somebody, I don't know who, I guess the state or the health department or whatever. I guess that's the same thing, but.
But I know that Lido's Pizza has a exhaust system within it. I mean, it's regulated, they have to, and it sucks out a huge chunk of the air. But you can still smell pizza in the adjoining businesses to Lido's. Now, Lido's Pizza smells delicious, and it's not a problem. I'm not picking on Lido's.
It's a good plug.
But cigars, not so much, in my opinion, sorry.
That is your opinion, Mr.
What's that?
That is your opinion.
Yes, at dinner.
Okay.
As a restaurant professional,
I understand.
45 years standing, yes.
All right.
Do we have the applicant online to answer any questions?
I don't have an applicant. We do have a request of Mr. Cormier to want to know if we can make the beginning of the presentation over, just so that everyone that it was blanked out could hear it or not. Don't know if that would be permissible to the board or not.
Can we just do a review of the beginning of the presentation?
Sure. If we could back up to the beginning of the presentation, please. This isn't working for me. It's not working.
Probably the first 5 slides, too, so.
Hold on.
I hear them back there talking.
Oh, there it is.
I got it. Okay. All right. So I will try to repeat myself as closely as I should be able to do. The purpose of this evening's work session is to review and discuss the proposed text amendment 22-04 to allow for cigar lounges within the neighborhood commercial subdistrict of the Lusby Town Center. To request direction if to send out the proposed text amendment to receive agency comment. Next slide, please. Now it's not working. I'm sorry.
He's saying sorry. He'll get it. There you go.
Oh, well, I don't know. Okay. Background. Planning and zoning staff received a text amendment application from Mr. Lincoln Lawrence requesting that the use of a cigar lounge be added to the Lusby Town Center use chart as a separate use and permitted within the town center. The applicant states that within the town center and within proximity of the proposed location for the cigar lounge is already a liquor store as well as a restaurant and bar. The applicant stated that the current ordinance does not lend to this type of business model that is growing throughout the Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia areas, and that this proposed change will allow for growth of these types of businesses within the Lusby area of Calvert County. In the current zoning ordinance, a cigar lounge would be classified under section 3-2.06 of the Lusby Table of Land Uses, number 22, to include tavern, nightclub, lounge, and dance hall. Currently, this use is already permitted within the village commercial and village edge districts of the Lusby Town Center, but not where the applicant is proposing the Cigar Lounge, which is located within the neighborhood commercial district. Next slide, please.
Want me to try to back it up? Okay.
There we go. Okay. This slide shows the proposed location for the Cigar Lounge, which is located off of Town Square Drive behind the U.S. Post Office. And this is a reference map of the Lusby Town Center showing the sub-districts. You can see that the neighborhood commercial is divided around the village commercial district, which is where the lounges are already permitted within the village commercial and the village edge. And we're proposing, the proposal is for the neighborhood commercial. This is the existing Lusby use chart for reference. If you look down to the bottom of the chart, you'll see use 22 and 23 to include the tavern, nightclub, lounge, and dance hall. And this is the applicant's requested proposal as submitted in his application, which was to create a separate use for Cigar Lounge. You'll see up at the top, number 4. And then have the use be permitted within the neighborhood commercial. So that's would be new, adding the P for that sub-district. And then I believe that's where I left off, because then I went through option 2 when we were back on.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
No problem.
Commissioners, any discussion?
Yes. My question is, so in that same shopping center is a liquor store, a restaurant, and a vape shop. So do any of those fall under that category at all?
No, they're separate uses. Within, I mean, they're listed within the Lusby use
So the
chart, but
problem
they're
is the
separate.
cigar bar, it just doesn't fall under any current categories, but we could make it one of those categories.
Well, for staff's recommendation, we feel it does fall into a category that already exists. So we don't feel making a separate use category is necessary. The problem became that not only did he want to sell cigars, but he also wanted to sell alcohol. And that rose it to the level to include it into the tavern, nightclub, lounge, and dance hall, which was not permitted in the district where he's proposing.
So there cannot be a nightclub in that shopping center, correct?
Not currently, no.
That's interesting, because there is one. Am I right?
I don't know, I'm not up
yeah,
late enough
yeah.
to know what's going on at night there.
That current use falls under eating establishment.
It's not really a nightclub.
Yeah, I guess allegedly, right? So. Okay, that's all I have.
You can be primarily a eating establishment, I guess is what they're permitted to be, and I guess as an accessory business, do some nightclub stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's skirting it, but yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is a nightclub? Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that
I don't wanna say
restaurant
it
to
because
know
I'm good.
the details, but we are aware that there's a liquor store as well as a restaurant, bar.
And are there limits to how many liquor establishments can be clustered together in a group like that? Because you do have a liquor store, you have a bar, part of that restaurant is certainly a bar.
We don't regulate that. I'm not sure if they would have any issue getting a liquor license. I'm not familiar with their process, but not that I'm aware of.
They got their, on the liquor board, so they got their license through the restaurant. You know, they're listed as a restaurant, right? So, yeah.
The one that's there now. And this one doesn't yet have a liquor license.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Anybody on Zoom?
We had, Mr. Cormier did have some comments he had put into the chat when we were having audio issues, but he does have his hand raised to speak now, if he may.
Go ahead and let him comment, please.
Mr. Cormier, you may unmute and speak.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission and staff. Very loud. I don't think that as a county, we should be moving zoning to allow indoor smoking at any establishment. In fact, I think we should review the zoning across the county to remove any possibility of indoor smoking. We spend so much time and effort trying to keep kids off tobacco and vaping. And I know the hospital and the health department does so much work for smoking cessation. And we know the dangers of emphysema and lung cancer and oral cancer and dental detriments. There's no net positive for our community. And I also have an issue that Commissioner Mike Hart walked away from the meeting but didn't verbally recuse himself. And when I reached out to the county, they did tell me that he reached out to the county lawyer and he was advised that he should recuse himself. But I think that when they recuse themselves, they should have to say that they're recusing themselves from these meetings. We have 2 commissioners that own liquor stores that could have a cigar lounge attached to it. And I just don't think that they're going about this in a transparent manner. And again, there's no net positive for our community adding indoor smoking lounges for staff who work at those businesses or the patrons or the neighbors of those businesses. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
As part of agency comments, the health department will receive the text amendment, correct?
Yes, they're on the distribution list.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
motion to direct staff to send out option 2, which is a staff recommended proposal for agency comments.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Freeland, a second by Commissioner Kernan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Next item on the agenda item 9, items of interest. We do have the site plan and subdivision application list. It's for information purposes for the board. There are any discussions or questions?
Hearing none?
Okay, hearing none, we'll move to item 10, which is public comment. At this time, we will open up the meeting for public comment according to Calvert County Ordinance number 51-21. The Planning Commission Chair will first request comments from those attending in person and then from those attending virtually. Speakers, whether in person or participating by phone or virtually, will be limited to 2 minutes as individuals and 5 minutes if they are designated to represent a group or organization. Right now, we'll ask if we have any in-person speakers. Hearing none, do we have any Zoom?
Yes, we have Joseph Cormier who'd like to speak.
Mr. Cormier?
Good evening, Commissioners. Again, my name is Joseph Cormier of Owings, Maryland. I just want to thank the staff who worked diligently to get the audiovisual backup for the Zoom meeting. You guys really are the best staff in the county, and I appreciate that. Again, if we're going to approve zoning to add more indoor smoking to this county, you might as well go ahead and approve that zoning for more crematoriums, because that's what we're going to need when that passes. So I hope that everyone takes a good, long, hard look at all of the possibilities that come out of this, and that we don't move forward with indoor smoking in Calvert County. I know our flag is a tobacco leaf, but we can move on past that. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Do we have any more on Zoom?
No other hands are seen.
Madam Chair, there are no other speakers.
All right, next item up is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Jones, a second by Commissioner Tui. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are now adjourned.
Thank you, Madam.